gamers? Today on Dice and Dragons we are going to be reviewing Aeon's End Legacy. Now for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm Jason.
And I'm Julie.
And for those of you that regularly follow the channel, if you miss our last review, Legendary Big Trouble in Little China, well, you don't know why we're up here.
Yeah, so we had, as we said last time, we had a little bit of flooding in the basement and ended up getting moved out of our normal studios to a temporary studio upstairs. So hopefully we'll be back downstairs for the next review.
Yeah, so we're using some older equipment that let us actually film, and we really wanted to get out our regular release. That being said, let's talk about Aeon's End Legacy. Designed by Kevin Riley and Nick Little, published by Indie Boards and Cards, as well as Action Phase Games, I think. And in case, Julie's going to take it away and tell you more about the game itself.
So it's a cooperative deck building game that is geared for people 14 and above. It plays 1 to 4 players, and according to the box, it plays in 60 minutes, but our experience is it's 90 minutes or more.
I do think that you could actually play like the gameplay itself in about 60 minutes, but this is a legacy game. And you do a lot more stuff in a legacy game, and that definitely adds on to the playtime. Now, for viewers that don't know what a legacy game is, you're going to be changing your cards, changing the board. The game evolves with you, often having rules being added into the game and using a lot of stickers. And I do like the customization that we've been able to do so far. It's been pretty interesting. This is our first experience with this type of game. Now, how do you play Aeon's End? Well, Aeon's End, as Julie stated, it is a co-op deck building game, meaning you've got a pool of cards. You're going to be acquiring from that pool of cards. In this game, you're going to be fighting a nemesis that will be spawning minions, attacking you directly, and also have some nasty powers that you're going to try to deal with as well. And you're going to be not shuffling your deck. What do you mean by that? Well, what do I mean by that? I meant to say is that, well, Aeon's End is very different, as in once you discard your cards, there's a specific order to it. There's some strategy to it, which lets you get some cards back into your hand a lot quicker. Now, what are we going to do, Julie?
We're going to grab our drinks.
Yep.
Going to grab our best friends. We're going to take it to the table.
Well, technically in this case, we've already taken it to the table. Just a little disclaimer, because this is a legacy game and you have to change stuff. We did review, well, we took a look at the components and did the how to play to keep it as spoiler light as possible. Now we're going to take a quick look at the components that come in Aeon's End Legacy. Now this is probably not going to be the most interesting look at components because it's a legacy game. So as you can see, there's all these stops on there telling us not to open the decks. Now for those of you wondering why this is not the green table, well, we had some trouble with the winter. We had some flooding in the basement. Now we may be doing the review from there. I'm not sure, but before Julie and I start playing the legacy game, I wanted to get a first look at the components so we don't have any spoilers. Now let's get into it. Now here you can see all of the different chapters that you're going to be getting in the game. So we got Chapter 1, The Ordeal, Chapter 2, Among the Ruins, Chapter 3, In Search of New Power, Chapter 4, A Friend in Danger, Chapter 5, The Darkest Night, Chapter 6, Strength of Mind, and Chapter 7, The Last Stand. Looks like it's going to be an epic campaign. And the last one, Chapter 8, The Void Inside, which is underneath the insert. And you got some special cards for it right there. Now we'll put this stuff back. Let's take a look at the 4 characters that we can be. Now, what's interesting is that all of these characters are double-sided. As it's a legacy game, we're going to be able to name our own character. We've got unlocks and stickers that we're going to be placing as we play the game. So you'll see that there is a male and female version of each hero. Now, Julie and I plan to play the game at 4 players, each of us taking control of 2 heroes. Which ones will that be? Well, we'll let you know when we get on to our review. So there you have it. There are the heroes. Now, quickly here, You've got some nice dividers to help you organize the cards. So it's pretty cool. You then have, of course, for those familiar with Aeon's End, this is actually our first time we've got the Breach cards. We have the 2 trackers. I believe this one is for Gravehold. It looks a little different than what I saw. I was reading the rule book online. And then the health tracker for the Nemesis. I'm going to jump over these decks quickly just to show you the other stuff that we have. Now, there is the first game setup, which will explain everything that you need to do to get the first game going. We have the Aeon's End Legacy rulebook, and you have a nice score chart, and you'll notice that there are places to put stickers. So as you're playing the game and unlocking stuff, you're going to be placing different stickers. Now that may be what's in box A, B, C, and D, but I'm not quite sure what's in there. Now I'm just going to move these off camera here. Then you have these different insights. Now these insights provide information about what's going on in the game, and the game's going to tell you when to open and reveal them. So you notice there's insight 1, 2A, 2B, and I'll just keep taking them off. I'll put them all back afterwards. 3, 4. Number 5 looks like a big reveal, as with number 6. We've got 8 and 9. That's because 7 is with 10 and 13. So different insights are different sizes, as you can see. 11, 12, and I'm knocking stuff around here. And you notice that this says do not open until the end of the campaign. Now I do know, because I saw it in quickly, I didn't really read it, but it does tell you how you can reset Aeon's End Legacy, and you would have to buy a reset pack to do it. Now we'll just put these back where they were. And like I said, I'm really not sure what the boxes that you can see over there, A, B, C, and D do. I'm pretty sure that they probably contain a lot of the different stickers and things like that you're going to be needing for either the insights or, like we showed you, the rule book. So I'll place this back. Let's take a quick look at the tokens. You've got the 2 turn order tokens that you have right here. They're double-sided, but doesn't seem to have any difference. We have the power tokens that keep track of the Nemesis power ability. And then, of course, the health tokens, which come in denominations of 5 and 1. Now, we've taken a look at just about everything. We will show you how many decks you're going to get, but let's start first with the 1A deck. Now, I did open this deck because it does tell you to do it in the first game setup, so you're going to find out pretty much right off the bat. We'll reveal some of the cards. So as you can see, it really has sort of your starting spells. Everything's well ordered. This is the, so that was the back of it, so this is the front. So here you've got a bunch of different gems. Yeah, relics, spells, pretty much everything you're probably going to be needing to make up your starting deck. Like I said, Julie and I actually haven't got into the game just yet. We'll just place that there so you can see there is also a 1B deck, 1C, and 1D. So you're going to open those up when you're told. You've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it does look like all of these are going to be opening up, and this is just a complete guess for each of the different chapters, but it makes sense that you get a lot more for your starting. And here we've got the Stop for the L. This is the Legacy deck, and this is really all the story for the game. So you can see the Chapter 1 introduction. I don't want to read the conclusion, don't want to spoil it for myself. And then some stuff that will unlock with regards to your Legacy, and you'll see you get Chapter 2 right there. So this is the Legacy deck, another thing you're going to open up right away. Now, you also get an Evolve deck, so you're not going to open this up until you're instructed to do so. Not quite sure when that is going to happen. As I've said, we have not yet got into the game. So there you have it. There are all the components that you get in Aeon's End Legacy. We are eagerly looking forward to get this to the table. You know that we love co-op deck builders, and here's a new one for us to play. So keep it right here, and we're going to be back either with how to play or a review. Not 100% sure yet. Like I said, this is the first thing that we are filming for Aeons and Legacy. So we'll let you know maybe when we do the intro video, or of course you can find out by checking the timestamps. So keep it right here, and we're going to be venturing into the breach and hopefully saving the day. Now we're going to do a quick overview as how you're going to play Aeon's End Legacy. Now, normally we do a setup, but I've decided to forego that because this is a legacy game. And what you can do with regard to the first game setup, all of the information is here with this setup sheet because you're going to be opening different legacy decks and setting up the game. Now, the idea behind this is really going to be for new players to get an idea of what you're going to be doing in the game. This is not going to be a full playthrough, otherwise that would spoil the game. Now, one thing I do want to highlight before we go too much further, Julie and I have been playing the game with 2 characters each, hence why we are using these dual-sided character cards, whereas I'm only actually playing with the blue and the yellow hero, meaning if you're doing a regular 2-player game, these are the turn order cards that you would be using. All right, we also have the player turn card, which will give you some more information as to how you're going to play through your turn, a nice reminder, and the Nemesis turn. We also have a sticker here because we have been playing the game. Now, at this point, Julie and I have gone through the first 2 chapters, which is why we've got some stickers, but I'm trying to keep this as spoiler light as possible. Now, the one thing that'll be interesting for new players is also the legacy deck. How you're going to use that's very simple. You got chapter 1, the introduction, which is the first card after you open it, and you're just going to start reading it, going through everything until it tells you what you need to do. Now, don't want to really spoil anything, so I'm going to take this away, and now let's really talk about the gameplay itself. We have the Nemesis here, who's got instructions on how to be set up. So when you're setting up your Nemesis, check the back before you flip it over. You've got some nice flavor text here. So in the case of this first one, we have the assist deck, and we'll talk about that briefly, but I believe it only shows up one time. So we have the Nemesis health set to 99, which once we've done the setup, we've turned it over, you'll see that it has the health of 99. So there are additional rules related to the assist deck. It has an unleash ability, which means that Gravehold, which we have the life tracker for Gravehold, our city right here, will take 3 damage when something triggers this unleash ability. Now, each player has a starting deck of 4 crystals and 1 spark for the first game. You'll see it's a little different here because we started playing the game. And they also have the same cards in their deck. And everyone starts with 10 health. These are your market cards that you'll be able to purchase, and each character has 1 open breach, meaning that this is where they're going to be able to prep spells. Well, you can prep spells across all the breaches, but it's a little different. Now, what's important, we're just going to place these here, face up, trying to cover up some of the spoilery stuff here, but we've got the names of our heroes as Piper and Raijin. Now, I'm going to take the turn order deck. We're going to shuffle it, and let's see what comes up as the first player's turn. Now, all right, we flip it up, so it says Raijin/Fenrir, so in this case, we only pay attention to Raijin, meaning it is Raijin's turn. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just place these cards right here. That means they've been played. Normally want to keep it closer to the turn order deck, but I didn't give myself that kind of room. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to take them off camera. It's going to be a little easier, give me a little more room to work with, as I need a nice place for discard. So normally, this would be your casting phase, meaning you can cast any spells you have on your breaches. Now, if you've cast a spell to a closed breach, which you can do, and I'll talk about in a minute, it must be cast. Open breach spells can be held until a later time. And what we're going to do here is we're going to prep the spark for our next casting phase, and we've got a total of 4. Now, what happens is as we play these, they're essentially played. I'm just going to be putting them here. And then we get to choose what we want to purchase first. And the moment we purchase something, that'll go into our deck. So I really want this branching radite. I'd like to get something to get more purchase power. So that goes there, and that's immediately placed in our discard. Now, we get to place these cards back that we've played in any order. Meaning if I've played this, I could, decide to play it the first one, or it could be the second one down for whatever reason. But in the case of the early game, it goes like this. And this sequence is very important because you will never be shuffling your decks. Now, what I do is I then draw up to 5 cards. And as you can see, it is the same stack that we had previously. Now, we're going to draw from the turn order deck again. And this time it comes up as Phoebe Piper. So we are now only focusing on Piper's turn. Now, what do we need to do here? Well, we'll do something different. Obviously, we're still going to ready the spark. We've got 4. And I'm going to want to open this breach. Now, how do you open breaches? Well, the way you do that is, depending on how it's positioned, you pay the cost in Aether. So you can see there's the Aether crystals there to open it. I paid the cost in Aether to buy something. Piper's going to open her breach. Now, you can focus a breach for 2 Aether, which would turn it like this, and then you're allowed to prep a spell to it. So, for example, if I chose to focus this turn, I could have played the spark here instead of the opened breach. But that's not what we're going to do. We're just going to straight up open the breach, spending all 4 of our crystals. And I'll move that over. It's a little bit more crowded. I'll slide that over and just throw these face up as our discard. And then we redraw our 5 cards. And I'll just place that over here face up. Same thing for Raijin, that these are their starting hands. Now, we draw on the turn order deck again, and it's once again Raijin's turn, meaning I get to go. So I can cast a spell, or I can save it, and I'm going to want to save it for right now. And what I'm going to do this turn, actually before we talk about that, is when you save your spark, if I cast my spark, it immediately goes there because the casting phase comes first. So once you cast, it immediately goes into your discard pile. But I don't want to cast it right now. I want to do something different. I want to focus my breach because I'd like to purchase something as well, which will cost me 2 crystals. I'm going to play my spark onto it. I'll go over onto Piper's board a little bit. And with these other 2 crystals, I'm going to purchase the Fire Chakram. Now the Fire Chakram goes immediately into my discard, as all purchase cards do, and then these will go over the top. Now we go through the turn order deck again, and what do you know, it's our heroes once again. So that's fairly interesting. I thought we'd see the Nemesis, but we'll get to see the Nemesis act twice. Now what's important now, I need to drop to 5 cards before we go on to Piper's turn, so we would just flip our deck over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to redrop to 5 cards. Our deck stays like that. As you can see, we've now got the branching radite in the deck. Now we're on Piper's turn. Take a look at what we got. So we can play this spell to the open breach. We didn't have to play that one, and I still don't want to. I'm going to hold up. I mean, this guy's got 99. We're just like kind of dinky here poking away. And we've got a total of 4 that we can use. I want to get a better damaging spell. We'll get the Incinerating Fist, which will go there. And we would then place these on top. Flip our deck over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw back up to 5. All right. Now, we have our next 5 cards. We go to the turn order deck, and it is now the Nemesis turn. So what happens on the Nemesis turn? Well, if there's any cards in play, they may trigger. First thing you do when it's the Nemesis turn is activate any cards that they have out. As we have no cards, we draw the first card, so we get the Doom Crawler. Now this happens during the Nemesis draw phase. You've got your nice card radar, which references it. You can see the main phase, which says trigger the cards, and you trigger any persistent effects. Then you go to the draw phase and resolve what you draw. So if it's an attack card, you resolve it immediately. If it's a minion card or power card, place it with the appropriate number of life or power tokens, then you resolve effects only that say immediately on it. In this case, we take this guy and we put 4 life tokens on him, and that is the end of the turn. The persistent effect would mean that any player suffers 1 damage, and just so you guys know, these are the power tokens. Now we take the turn order deck and we go again, which means another Nemesis turn, which means we will now trigger this, meaning a player will suffer 1 damage. In this case, I'll decide it'll be Raijin, who will then take 1 damage, and we'll slide this over as we draw the next card. Now, this is a specific story card, so you see Gravehold is under siege. As apprentices, you're not prepared, but you must fight. If you're playing a 1, 2, or 3 players game, discard the appropriate card. So at 4 players, you don't discard anything. So with this one, we would discard the top 4 cards, as it's a 2-player game. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll flip those over. Actually, technically, you should discard them like this. Keep the deck in order, as so. Then we would draw another card, which is an attack. So the way an attack works is we read the card, it says Unleash and Assist. So with Unleash, it would mean that Gravehold suffers 3 damage. We adjust this down to 27, keeping track of Gravehold's life. We would then draw an Assist card, which is specific to Aeon's End Legacy. Now, I'll draw the card. I'm not going to read it, but as you can see, it's powerful stuff as we're just measly apprentices. And this is Miss Fury, which means that this guy will take 10 damage. So kind of interesting. Like I said, this is a little spoilery, but I'm trying not to go too much more into detail. I'm actually just going to take out a power card right now. We'll talk about that. And then we'll go through one last sort of phase here with the heroes, and then we'll go on to a review of the game. So if we had the power here, Storm of Knives, what would then happen is we would place 2 power tokens on it. Now, to get rid of the Storm of Knives, a player on their turn may trigger a 2 discard effect, meaning we'd have to discard 2 prepared spells. In this case, Raijin could get rid of both. Actually, I'm going to do Piper, it's just easier for me to reach. Get rid of these 2 sparks, discard them, and we could then get rid of this ability. Now, what will happen otherwise is that every time the Nemesis gets a turn, we remove one of these power tokens. Once there are no more power tokens, we have removed the last one on it. This effect will trigger. So keep that in mind. We definitely do want to discard it. Now, we are going to just get rid of that. This goes back in here, and the attack has gone off. I'm going to shuffle up the turn order deck. As we've got some discards now, I don't have a great place for the turn order deck, so I'll just keep it right here for the moment, and I'll move it as needed. Let's move this Nemesis. Actually, you know what? Turn order deck can go right here. That'll be fine. So we've shuffled up, we draw the turn order deck. So it is Raijin Fenrir, so Raijin's turn. We now have our casting phase. We do have to cast this spark as it's on a closed breach. Now once it's cast, it goes into our discard. We get to decide if we want to hit the Maelstrom or the Doomcrawler. I'm going to hit the Doomcrawler. Now we may or may not cast the spark. Let's take a look at our hand. Well, we get bonuses if we had 2 or more prep spells for the Branching Radite. Unfortunately, we don't, so we might as well cast this thing during the cast phase and also deal another damage to the Doomcrawler. It is now our turn. We've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is pretty good. And I want some more purchasing power. I'm going to buy the Gilded Marble. We then put these cards back how we want. I could put the Crystal first or the Branching Radite. Obviously, the Radite's better. We put that in there. And we then redraw our next 5 cards. And here's our next hand. Now, once again, we'll draw a turn order card. It is Piper's turn. And in this case, we really want to get rid of this Doomcrawler. We would play both of the sparks, deal some damage. This is now dead, so we are able to discard it. Now we'll take a look at our turn. So we really have 4, and we've got an Incinerating Fist. So I'll play the Incinerating Fist to an open breach, and it might not be a bad idea to focus a breach, and this will actually let me teach you the last thing about the game. So I'm going to play 3 to focus this breach. Now, I don't have to play this card. I can keep it in my hand, meaning that now as I redraw, I draw 1, 2, 3, and I spun the card out, 4 cards. So I only redraw these 4 cards, and that is the end of the turn. And you're getting an idea of how this plays. Now, what is this turn order marker really for? It comes into play not so much on a 2-player game, but more on a 3 or 4-player. It lets you track which character went. So, as you can see here with like Raijin Fenrir, if first time I draw this, Raijin acted, I place a turn marker there. If it would be my other character, the red one, I'd place my turn marker on them, for example. Imagine that this is the red character to say that it was their turn and that they are currently acting. So that's what these are for. Sorry for the quick transition. I had a little equipment snafu, but we've pretty much gone over the flow of the game, which is really what I wanted to accomplish, and really do something a little bit more detailed than I wanted to, but to introduce new players to Aeon's End to this game. So let's take one last turn. And we've got the Nemesis turn, which is what I was hoping for. Now we don't have anything out here, so we're not triggering any abilities. We then draw a card, so we get a new Nemesis minion that we're going to want to defeat. The Crust Smasher, who has a persistent, where Gravehold will suffer 2 damage. We put the health on this bad boy. And he's ready to go. So we would then go back into our hero turns. Well, not our hero turns. We draw the next card. And in this case, it would be Piper's turn. So Piper would then take her next turn, and play would continue. So there you have it. There is an overview of how you're going to be playing Aeon's End Legacy. A lot of stuff is going to change. You're going to be unlocking some abilities like you can see right here, or even some cards like you can see, but we don't want to give you too many more spoilers, so keep it right here, and we're going to be venturing through the tunnels and coming at you with our review of the game. So, Aeon's End Legacy, our first Legacy game, our first Aeon's End game. What did you think of it?
Well, it was a little weird for me because I never like ruining a game, and it's kind of like books. My books are always pristine. They don't look like I've read them. So to start marking it up, and you said put your character name, but why? I know what my character name is. It's fine. So that was a little strange for me. But I do like powering up my characters. It's just, to me, the fact that you're never able to go back, that you're permanently marking up your card was a little strange to me, but you kind of get over it and with time.
One thing we didn't talk about, there is a reset pack for the game, so I will probably pick it up. I don't know if we'll ever reset it, but I would just like the ability to go through the whole thing again. But that's the idea of a Legacy game. They typically release those packs.
So yeah, that was a little bit strange for me, but I did get used to it with time, and if you've heard the reviews from my perspective before, I do like powering up my characters, so that's fun. I would have to say the artwork is one of the things I really like about this game, and the way it's been packaged has been fun. It's been nice to be pulling out and opening things. It is a very labor-intensive game. Each chapter has pre-work to do and post-work to do, and then there's pre-work again before the next chapter.
Yeah.
So it does take time to set up the game. You can't just sit down and start playing, which I think got me a little frustrated at first, because I'm like, okay, let's just get this game going. But I do love the way that it's been produced, and I love the artwork in it.
Yeah, and well, there is the base version of Aeon's End for those of you that just want to play Aeon's End and don't want to go through all of the extra steps. There are the other 2 versions of the game. Well, not 2 versions, there's 2 editions, and the main game with 2 expansions and the follow-up with 2 expansions. Now, there is an upcoming Kickstarter that we're definitely probably going to be backing.
Definitely probably.
You like pointing it out when I make a mistake. In any case, we will most likely be back in the Kickstarter because it's going to add campaign elements into the original games. And that's one of the things I think we've both been enjoying so far with this game. Now, we have not finished the game. We will do a video on our final thoughts after we get through all 8 chapters. We are currently on chapter 4.
We finished 4.
Yeah, we finished 4. We're getting on to chapter 5. So, what would you say you don't like about the game?
I honestly had trouble getting the hang of it at first. It's not the most complicated game ever, but it's also not the easiest. There's subtleties to it that made it a little bit strange that I didn't understand.
That we missed too, and we'll talk about that soon.
It's fairly long. And it's quite a time commitment to get through the 8 chapters. Even the 4 chapters, it's quite a time commitment. So for me, that's not something I enjoyed quite as much. I do like the fact that you are really working together to defeat the nemesis or the nameless, whatever you want to call it. And one of the things I did like about this was the fact that you could power up. I guess as much as I like cooperative games, I do still like to be able to power up my own character and be able to use my powers myself to the greater good of our team. And I guess I got frustrated with some of the powers that in the end helped everybody but me.
Yes, that did happen. It was really funny. I thought it was amusing. I helped everyone but myself. Went from giant smile to sad face.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think for me the time commitment was a negative, and but the fact that you're powering up and you're buying, and there is a lot of change. The game is constantly evolving. I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, and don't forget that once we've gone through all of this, we are left with sort of our own version of Aeon's End. That's got all of our little quirks, our characters, our abilities, which I think is pretty cool. But I do get what you mean about the time commitment, because there's always the preamble, and then when we're doing the preamble, and that's one thing I do have to agree with Julie. The flow is a little clunky when you're opening stuff up, stickering everything up. It does take a while, and you're learning the new rules. I'd like it if it was sort of all at once, all at the beginning or all at the end. I find the fact that it happens at the beginning and then sometimes at the end and then at the beginning again is just a little frustrating, and I get what you mean by the flow. It's not like we end a mission and then it's like, all right, we pick it up and we're going, and then everything changes when we're done.
Yeah. I think the fact, I don't know, for me, I never really feel like I got a hand of, okay, this is the strategy.
Well, I think we did, and then we messed up and lost horribly during chapter 4 the first time we tackled it.
Well, we didn't lose horribly. I mean, we almost outlived the series of monsters. But then
yes, we didn't lose horribly. We got killed, and then we had to go through the whole process of replaying it and resetting our supply cards. And we made one really dumb mistake. It's quite clear because we probably picked our supply cards at the end. There was one card that is a clear upgrade that we didn't take.
Yeah, so I think part of the fact that I still, can't follow a particular strategy. In most cases you can focus on, you'll be in spells, or you'll be, you'll have, you can generate money so that you can buy things. In this case, it changes from one adventure to another, and you can't build your talent in a consecutive manner, or you can't build your strategy up. So for me, I think the first game I was figuring it out. The second one, I'm like, okay, I think I've got the hang of this. The third one
we crushed it very quickly.
I said, okay, the third one, I'm like, okay, I got this. This is fun. And then the fourth game came to a crashing halt. And I have to say, very honestly, I didn't have fun. I didn't enjoy it. And at some point, Jason looked at me and said, what? You're not enjoying this? And I said, no, I just can't wait for this game to be over.
No. And I think a lot of that is not to criticize the game design itself. We changed our strategy. We debated on what to choose for the supply cards, And there was one card that Julie wanted to keep, and I thought that by getting a card that would let us trash cards, a mechanic that is typically very strong in deck builders, especially ones like Clank and Legendary that we've played, that didn't work out well for us at all. We had a nemesis that was letting us trash cards, and the cards that we got the trash cards just didn't really work in the scenario. We would have been better served with keeping more of our original strategy and our original play style. And if that's what we did on our second playthrough of Chapter 4. We also added in the card that was a clear upgrade. So just so you know, guys, Incinerating Fist is not better than the card that's going to come out later on.
Yeah.
It's quite clear. So, I mean, it's no spoilers. Incinerating Fist is a starting card and just straight up upgraded. That would have really helped out our speed. And when we went through it that second time, there was a big difference in the gameplay. That being said, I'm looking forward to finishing it, but I do see like those flaws that you're talking about is that the evolving deck and even, well, before I forget what we're talking, I said evolve. The nameless evolve over the course of the game, and that is really cool. Based on our decision, based on how we fight them, mitigate them, defeat like the basic minion cards, those villains are going to get stronger, and that was really cool. And an element of the game that I do really like. And
is there something else that I haven't named that you really enjoyed about the game?
No, and I think we just neglected to bring that up. But other than that, I think we definitely share the same opinion. It's a solid game. The strategy is definitely very different, but I think the one advice we can give to players, especially if you're new to Aeon's End, is build a deck as your, deck of, your supply cards evolve. That's going to suit your play style. Because if you go against the way that you're comfortable playing, you're going to end up in a situation like we were in and just not have that much fun. So with that being said, I think we're ready to give our preliminary score of the game. Don't forget, we're going to give you guys our final thoughts in a forthcoming video. Hopefully in maybe a week or two, once we actually finish this game.
Yeah, it depends when we finish it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So you break the ice. What's your score of this?
So because of the whole legacy experience, the first time playing it, I really like the cooperative deck building aspect of the game. We always enjoy playing co-ops. I got to give this game an 8. I'm really intrigued by the Aeon's End system. I actually kind of want to finish this just so we have a version of Aeon's End to play, but I want to play the other games now. I like the system. I like the way it works. I like the strategy. And it'd be interesting to see it with more like static, powered up characters instead of getting stuff, kind of handed out to us piecemeal.
Yeah, for me it's a 7. I think it's the kind of game that you have to play for a little while to understand, and that takes away a little bit for me. I think I like the concept of it, but it's just not right now. It's not. I mean, it's still a very good score. It's not an 8 for me right now. There are other games that clearly in my head I've enjoyed more than this one. Maybe afterwards, maybe when we review it again after 8, I'll have after the 8 chapters, I'll have a different opinion. But for me, the fact that I have to play it to figure it out after having read the rules a couple of times, I've said it before in other games we've reviewed. It kind of takes away. I like to be able to, not necessarily hit the ground running, but be a little bit more comfortable starting to play the game than in this case.
No, and you know what? That's a fair opinion, and that's a valid opinion because we're jumping in on Aeon's End Legacy, the latest version of the game. There's been 2 main boxes, a bunch of expansions, and we're kind of jumping in at this new point because it looked like fun, and I wanted to try a legacy game, and I like the fact that this one, and it's a nice selling feature of the game, is that it's a campaign, a legacy game. It's also an expansion to the other Aeon's End content, and you get your own version of the game at the end, and that's what I got to say. If you're interested in Aeon's End, I do think this is a solid pickup. I just don't know if I'd ever want to reset the game and go through the whole experience, at least not for a long time. That's why I'd like to get a reset pack. I think it'd be good, but I don't know if we'll ever use it. That's definitely a question mark. So that being said, you're going to.
But before we do that, we're going to remind people that they can see videos below that they can click on. Don't know what you're going to pick to put there, but something we've reviewed.
Something that we reviewed recently, probably our most recent review, and definitely something that is related to deck building.
And you can like, comment, subscribe. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to click the little bell to get notifications when we have new content for you. So on that note,
grab our drink, grab our best friend.
And we're going to keep playing games.
Keep playing games.
Maybe not this one for a little bit. Maybe take a little break.
Well, we got to get our final thoughts out there. And I did notice it after our struggles with Chapter 4, the way that you're like, okay, we're done. I'm going to take a break. And I'm like, wait, there's the upgrade process. All of a sudden, that frown turned right upside down to a big smile. And you're like, I like this, and I like this, and I'm going to kill stuff next time. So I think we'll be in a much better position when we pick this back up.
Yeah, till the big bad is something we can't kill again. But we'll try.
Well, if we'd had that one card that would have let us prep and shoot, we would have been a lot better off.
Maybe.